Hi everyone. In this video, we'll be talking about the monitoring services in AWS and also a bit on uh, security services, right? So, monitoring services, if you have worked in AWS a bit, you would know about CloudWatch. That is the most commonly used monitoring service, and for putting logs into the application, checking the application logs on AWS console, and so on and so forth. So uh, it provides you a metrics repository which collects system data of all kinds. Okay. And it also helps you in notifying if a certain threshold is reached. It can also trigger an action based on a threshold or event you define. So there are n number of things you can do as part of CloudWatch. You can obviously log application logs and have it getting logged on CloudWatch, and then with the help of log management service in CloudWatch, you can go and look at the specific logs around that service. Okay. So the different usages of CloudWatch services, obviously it helps in collecting the metrics, monitoring, storing and querying the logs, triggers actions based on a metric or a threshold. We already talked about that. And it allows you to create CloudWatch event rules to track changes state of your services. So if you want to go more specific into having events, and then those events triggering alarms, for you to be watchful of what is going on in the application, you can always configure events and alarms. Okay, so it invokes a certain action if a specific event matches a rule. Okay, so you can create a event with a rule, and if that rule is satisfied, it can invoke a certain action, which could be an alarm as well. You can also create scheduled jobs to invoke Lambda on a regular basis. So it could be cron jobs also, you can basically configure here in CloudWatch. And you can have a customizable dashboard containing different AWS system matrices. Okay. And moving on to some other monitoring services, you have AWS Service Health Dashboard. We will not go into details of each of these services. As I mentioned, CloudWatch is the most commonly and the most important monitoring service, so give more importance to that. Other services are little bit less used and are more for a specific use case you are after. So for example, Service Health Dashboard is a public dashboard that shows health of all AWS services region wise. Okay, so it gives you a dashboard for an overall dashboard for all the AWS services in a region. And AWS personal health dashboard is a personalized dashboard that shows the status of AWS services in your account. Again, this is more of a personalized dashboard which you can create to get the various data points you require at the end of each month or at the end of each quarter, etc. AWS Health API, it provides you a programmatic access where it exposes those APIs. You can try to call those APIs in your program to access the information that appears in your AWS personal health dashboard. Okay, so if you don't want to go to the AWS console to see the various data points, you can do this with the help of Health API as well in your own application, and basically have a UI in place to show that display the data in your application instead of on AWS. There is something known as AWS X-ray as well. A lot of times you have a distributed architecture, right? And if you have to debug little bit complex issues in a distributed environment, then it can get little messy. So AWS X-ray helps you in debugging in a distributed architecture. It basically pinpoints exact part or module which is causing the performance bottleneck or which is creating the issue. Okay, it gives you a service map feature which gives you the visibility on user requests as they travel through different components of your application. Since we are talking about different components talking to each other, So it gives you that visibility where you know how the requests are traveling through different components of your application. And it supports end-to-end tracing of individual requests as they pass through different service nodes. Okay, so this is about X-ray. Remember, X-ray is more for distributed environment architecture debugging and identifying potential issues in terms of performance or errors. Moving to another one known as AWS CloudTrail. CloudTrail is more for tracking all API activity and account actions across AWS, okay, providing an audit trail of who did what, when, and from where. It is more for AWS API calls and account activity. Stores the audit logs in S3, integrates with CloudWatch for alerts. Okay, so it will record and track all API activity in your AWS account. And okay, supports compliance and forensic investigations. It is best for security auditing, compliance reporting, investigating unauthorized changes. So if you want to do an audit on who is doing what and when, you can basically have CloudTrail configured. It is not ideal for application logging. For normal application logs, you should go for CloudWatch. Okay, and obviously not ideal for business analytics or real-time performance monitoring. Okay, all these things are better off with CloudWatch. Moving on to some of the AWS security services. So there is something known as AWS KMS, known as Key Management Service. This is a managed service for creating, storing, and controlling encryption keys used to protect data across AWS services and applications. So this is a service just to manage the encryption keys. Okay, so that any service which requires encryption keys to be used for security purposes, they can use KMS. So it's basically a centralized key management, customer managed and AWS managed keys, both. It supports automatic key rotation for security, and it provides you fine-grained access control. It integrates with most AWS services, best for encrypting data at rest, managing encryption keys centrally, compliance and security requirements, secure data sharing. Okay, and it is obviously not ideal for storing passwords or secrets. It is more for managing encryption keys, not for storing passwords or secrets. We have another service for that. We will come to that. Okay, so don't confuse this with, let's say, Secrets Manager or Param Store. Those are the services you use for storing passwords or maybe environment variables. It is not again ideal for application configuration management or user authentication. Okay, so KMS is more for managing encryption keys. Okay, remember it in that way. Okay, AWS Secrets Manager, as the name suggests, it manages your secrets, which means passwords, API keys, database credentials, the most important or most sensitive credentials or entities you have. You should use AWS Secrets Manager to store those to store, retrieve, or rotate. Okay, so it provides you secure secret storage, automatic secret rotation, obviously KMS encryption. Now Secrets Manager is it stores the entities like passwords, API keys, and internally it uses KMS for encryption. Okay, that's the idea. So Secrets Manager uses a KMS. Okay, but KMS actually doesn't store any entities. It basically provides you fine-grained IAM access, database credential integration, best for database passwords, API keys, OAuth tokens, third-party credentials, database credentials, etc. Not ideal for non-sensitive settings, general application configuration, like you have project name or environment name. All those things it is not required for you to use Secrets Manager. It is more for sensitive entities, which are API keys, database credentials, API token, even passwords also, right? Okay, so this is one small mistake. This is not secrets manager, this is param store. Okay, so param store, as I mentioned, there is another service for storing, you know, some of your application entities. It's a centralized service again for storing application configuration, environment variables, and optionally encrypted parameters. Okay, so not so sensitive entities, you can use param store to store them. Okay, as I mentioned, like project name, what you configure in your environment variables, you know, that is something you can store in param store. It provides you hierarchical parameters, versioning support, KMS encryption support, easy application integration, centralized configuration management. It is best for environment variables, configuration values, feature flags, application settings, etc., but not for passwords, API keys, database credentials, database passwords, etc., not for sensitive info. For that you should go for secrets managers. That's the major difference between param store and secrets manager. So based on the use case, use the service. That's what, you know, real architects do. They know which service to be used when. Now you can use param store to store passwords also, but that is not a good design. Similarly, you can use secrets manager to store your environment variables or config values, but again, that's not a you know, good design or optimized design. So you have to have a trade-off in terms of cost as well. Secrets manager would be more costly, okay, because it is more sophisticated, right? It's not ideal for automatic secret because there is no secret rotation as well here. Complex credential management, obviously it's not used for that. And sensitive secret lifecycle management, again, all these things are more suited for secrets manager, not the param store. So here we are, you know, quickly you're doing a comparison between the three security services we just talked about. KMS, it manages encryption keys, not secrets. Okay, secrets manager stores and rotates secrets, passwords, or API keys, manages key rotation or customer managed keys as well. Best for storing sensitive configs like password, API keys, etc. SSM param store stores config values like environment variables, etc., you know, which could be optionally encrypted. It is best for less sensitive configs like app name, project name, etc. Cost, obviously secrets manager is greater than KMS, is greater than param store. Okay, and other AWS security services, you have AWS Web App Firewall. You know, just a one-liner I have provided so that you get some idea of what those services are all about. They are not used, you know, that regularly. Again, these are more specific use cases, so depending on your use case, use them. Allows you to create custom rules that block SQL and XSS attacks. So SQL and XSS attacks go for Web App Firewall. Okay, AWS Firewall Manager is a security management service for WAF rules. Okay, allows you to centrally configure WAF rules across multiple AWS accounts. AWS Shield, it is a managed DDoS protection service. Now for SQL and XSS, you have Web App Firewall. Okay, and AWS Firewall Manager is designed for WAF rules. Okay, so Web App Firewall, WAF full form is Web App Firewall rules. So it allows you to configure the Web App Firewall rules across multiple AWS accounts. Okay, Shield is for DDoS protection. So Shield for DDoS, XSS, and SQL for that you use Web App Firewall. And then you have a manager for firewall. Okay, very simple and easy to understand. Shield, it mitigates different type of flood attacks like DNS query flood, HTTP flood attacks, etc., and so on and so forth. There are some other features as well, I'll not go into that. AWS Guard Duty, a managed threat detection service. It identifies malicious or unauthorized actions in your AWS accounts workloads. Okay, so Guard Duty is like a guard. It, you know, identifies any malicious or unauthorized actions, produces secondary reports called findings. For key management, you have also have AWS Cloud HSM, a fully managed cloud-based hardware security module which enables you to generate and use your own encryption keys. Okay, it provides a single tenant access. There is also AWS Macy. So Guard is a managed threat detection service. Macy is a fully managed data security and privacy service. Recognizes PII personal information identifiers like name, email, etc. Okay, auto recognizes and classifies sensitive data or IP. So Macy is for recognizing sensitive data or PII information like name, email, etc. Okay, provides dashboards / alerts that give visibility into how sensitive data is being accessed. Okay, you have AWS Certificates Manager, ACM, provisions manages SSL TLS certificates only for managing the SSL TLS certificates. Enables you to create private certificates for your internal resources. They are free of charge for services like API, Gateway, ELB, etc. Okay, Certificates Manager for getting your SSL and TLS certificates. Macy for PII, detecting and recognizing PII information. AWS Inspector for automated security assessment service, auto assesses applications for vulnerabilities. Security assessment. Okay, AWS Detective helps you detect the root cause of your security issues easier. Okay, that's it from the AWS monitoring and AWS security services. I'll quickly show you in code how you can put like in one repository of mine, so secrets manager, how it gets set up. So basically one place we have used so it basically you can get it created like this. Okay, if you are doing this with TFE, and what is happening is the different lambdas we are having in our application, this particular DB secret ARN is passed as environment variable to the 8 lambdas. Okay, we are having to the different lambdas. So if I go to the lambda setup, and if I go to see here DB secret ARN, so this is getting set here in the main.tf. okay, from the output of Aurora. So Aurora, basically in Aurora we are configuring the secrets manager. So idea is that we want to use the RDS data API. Okay, so for that you require secrets manager by default. I mean, that is a requirement. And then the code I showed you, there we are configuring the secrets manager, and the output from Aurora is then sent to two different lambdas as environment variables, and then those so they never hold raw credentials. The lambdas use the ARN passed as the environment variable to RDS data execute statement. Okay, that's the basic idea. That's how you can use ARN as and when required. Sorry, that's how you can use secrets manager as and when required. Now coming back to the console, let me also show you little bit CloudWatch console. By the way, you can very easily configure CloudWatch Logs with your TFE or any other provisioning system you are having. So these are the different options your CloudWatch provides: containers insights, database insights. These are the different metrics I was talking about. Okay, you have AI operation investigations, generative AI observability also is now available. Okay, and then logs management. So the logs which we configured, so if I let's say go to something like an IAM and see, So I have used this action logs.create log group. So this is all for configuring the logs for this particular lambda. Okay, so based on this configuration, once the lambda is invoked, you will under the log management you will have a log group getting created. Okay. With a specific name. You can go based on the lambda being called. You can go to that log group and see for yourself under the log stream, okay, for that date what is happening. Okay, that's how CloudWatch logs are configured. And what else I can show? I'm not using CloudTrail in my current projects, so I cannot show that. Secrets manager we already saw how it could be configured. We are doing it for RDS data API feature, so that lambdas can access Aurora DB, and that they are doing with the help of secrets manager configuration, which we just saw. Okay, and it is also visible here in the console. I'll stop right here. Hope this particular video was informative. I'll see you in the next one. And by the way, we have a AWS an AI builder community, for people who want to learn with their peers, who want to be part of a inner circle of people using AWS in your day-to-day life. Please go ahead and register yourself. We'll onboard you, and you will get different updates, free resources, and different opportunities as and when arise. We'll try to also see how we can use that network in a more powerful way once we have a lot of members coming in. We'll see a lot of that. We have a lot of things in roadmap. It also depends on how many people are getting registered. So if you're on the edge, I'll suggest to go ahead and register yourself. It doesn't harm you being a part of something you work on an everyday basis, day-to-day basis. Okay, so having said that, I'll stop it right here, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.